deep within the endless green labyrinth of the Amazon, where rivers twist like serpents and the air itself feels alive, there is a story that refuses to fade. A whisper carried by the wind through canyons of mist and forests older than time. It tells of a hidden kingdom, a place of gold and silence, where the last Inca priests fled when their world collapsed beneath the boots of the conquistadors. They called it Paititi, the sacred refuge of the sun god, Inti. When Francisco Pizarro's army marched into Cusco in 1533, they expected to find mountains of treasure. But the temples were empty, the altars bare, and the golden sun disk of Inti gone. The treasure had vanished, spirited away by those who swore to protect it with their lives. For centuries, explorers and kings have chased the myth, from Spanish friars in the 17th century to modern archaeologists, guided by satellites, all drawn by the same promise, the lost gold of the Incas. Some returned half mad, claiming to have seen glimmering pyramids between the trees, heard drums echoing through the fog, or felt invisible eyes watching from the shadows. The tribes of the Amazon speak in hushed tones of the curse of Paititi, a warning that those who seek forbidden gold awaken the wrath of the spirits guarding it. They say the jungle itself defends the city, with storms, fever, and silence. Maps appear, then disappear. Names are erased from history. Even satellites reveal strange geometric shapes beneath the canopy. Patterns too precise to be nature's work. But every explorer tells the same story before they vanish. The closer you get to Paititi, the louder the jungle calls your name. This is the legend of the lost gold of the Incas and the curse of Paititi. Before there was a curse, there was an empire. The children of the Andes called it Tawantinsuyu, the land of four quarters, stitched together by roads that climbed glaciers and sliced through stone. At its heart stood Cusco, the navel of the world, where the Sapa Inca, the unique ruler, offered the first light of dawn to the sun god, Inti. Gold was not money to the Inca. It was sunlight made solid, the sweat of the sun. They hammered it into temple walls that blazed at noon, into discs that caught fire when the morning rays struck, into masts and scepters carried in processions that moved like rivers of light. Priests kept calendars of stars, engineers carved terraces into mountains, runners relayed news faster than armies could march. Kipu keepers knotted numbers and stories into chords, a memory woven by hand. Then the world cracked. Civil war split the royal line. Huascar in Cusco, Atahualpa in the north. When the Spaniards arrived, they found a throne contested, generals exhausted, and gods that still spoke through oracles. In Cajamarca, Atahualpa filled a room with gold for his ransom. Walls, floor, even the height of a man's outstretched hand. The room was filled, and he was killed. Francisco Pizarro marched on Cusco expecting a second son. But when the conquistadors forced open the temples, much of the gold was gone. Altars stood stripped. Great discs of Inti had vanished. Priests had disappeared into the high country. Some treasure was seized and melted into bars, but the sacred pieces, the regalia of the sun, had been spirited away. How do you make a fortune vanish? You do what the Inca had always done in times of danger. You move. Along the Capacñan, the royal road, caravans of llama and human porters slipped through passes at night, skirting valleys where Spanish patrols camped. High priests dismantled golden reliefs, wrapped them in textiles, and carried them as bundles that looked like nothing more than cargo. Messengers outran rumor. Scouts erased footprints with brooms of ichu grass. And when the road ended at the wall of the jungle, they kept going. To the east lay the Ceja de Selva, the eyebrow of the forest, where the Andes fall into a sea of green. Clouds pour like rivers over ridges, and every trail is swallowed by leaves. Here the empire had outposts, coca fields, gold washings, trading towns where Quechua met Arawak tongues. Here rumors took root of a last refuge beyond the mountains, a city hidden by oath, protected by silence. They whispered its name, Paititi. Manco Inca rebelled, then withdrew from Cusco to the fortress valleys of Ollantaytambo and the jungle frontier of Vilcabamba. From there, the royal line endured, a shadow court, a resistant flame. Chroniclers wrote of roads that go toward the east where the sun rises, of strongholds fed by rivers no Spaniard could navigate. When Vilcabamba finally fell, the Spaniards expected the last horde to be theirs. They found ashes, empty shrines, and trails that died in trees. The legend sharpened. Jesuit maps surfaced with a name, Paititi, Paititi, drawn near headwaters that braid Peru, Bolivia, and Brazil. Friars told of meeting forest peoples who spoke of stone towns swallowed by vines. Soldiers returned with golden plaques they could not explain. Then expeditions began to vanish, not in battle, but in silence. Why hide so much gold? Because to the Inca, gold belonged first to the gods. It honored the sun, marked time, sealed treaties, and dressed the mummies of ancestors who still listen in royal halls. To let foreign hands melt those symbols was to unmake the law of the world. So they hid it, not merely to keep wealth, but to protect cosmic order. Some caches were near at hand, lakes fed by glacial streams where divers worked by torchlight, caves whose mouths were sealed and disguised as cliffs, fields where offerings were buried under new terraces. Others, the stories say, moved farther and farther east, toward a city no map could hold. Every empire leaves paperwork, and in monasteries, soldiers' journals, and the letters of governors we find clues. A caravan sighted at dusk, a priest who refused to name a road, a rumor of a great plain beyond the last ridge. The pieces do not prove a city, but they point again and again into the jungle. By the 17th century, the Spanish crown had melted mountains of bullion, yet still complained that the royal fifth was strangely small. What if the richest hoard never reached their furnaces? What if the last light of Inti had been carried beyond their reach? And so the story of Paititi hardened into fate. Guides warned that the forest would accept only the worthy. Shamans said the river bends like a serpent to coil around the sacred. Men with maps and rifles entered the green and left their names behind like footprints in rain. But the empire's order was not superstition. It was logistics. Stone causeways bridged chasms, stairways bit to volcanic rock, and tambos, way stations, stocked food, sandals, and spare slings for the runners who linked provinces like nerves. A message could leap hundreds of miles in a day. Armies marched in silence, guided by markers aligned to solstices and stars. In Cusco's Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun, gold sheets once paneled the walls, so fully that dawn itself seemed trapped inside. When the conquistadors broke that order, they broke the calendar of a civilization. Melt the masks, and you erase the ancestors who wear them. Melt the discs, and the year loses its hinges. So the priests unhinged the year themselves, taking the sacred measure and carrying it where time, for a while, would not be hunted. Even the math whispers, in reports tallied for the crown, the gold recorded from Cusco after the conquest does not match the inventories claimed by eyewitnesses during the seizures. Bars exist, icons do not. It is as if a museum's worth of ritual pieces slipped between numbers and leaves. What the Spaniards called idols, the Inca called breathing things. When those things needed to survive, they were fed to mountains, to lakes, to caves that swallow sound. A treasure buried is a secret. A treasure given to a god is a promise. The first Europeans to chase that rumor believed they were hunting gold. But the jungle hunts back. It hunts with disease that wakes at dusk, with insects that sing like boiling water, with paths that fork into their own footprints. It hunts with silence, the loudest weapon of all. By the time news of Vilcabamba's fall reached Spain, sailors in Seville were already swapping tales of a second Cusco hidden beyond the Green Sea. In Lima's halls, governors asked friars for guidance. In missions upriver, the friars asked the forest, and the forest answered with ruins no one could find twice. Which is why, when we speak of Paititi, we are not beginning with fantasy. We are beginning with absence, the most measurable relic of all. This is how a treasure vanishes, with discipline, with faith, with roads that outlast memory, and with a jungle that keeps its own. And this is how a curse is born, not from sorcery, but from warning ignored. Because those who chased the sun into the forest did not just lose its gold, they lost their way home. The legend of Paititi spread through the empire of Spain like wildfire, carried by whispers of soldiers, monks, and sailors who swore they saw rivers lined with gold. In Lima, the viceroys dreamed of one more conquest, a city richer than Cusco, hidden beyond the clouds. For them, it was not only gold, it was redemption, a chance to find what Pizarro could not. The first to chase the dream was Pedro de Candia, a Greek in service of the conquistadors. In 1538, he led a company eastward into the jungle, searching for a city of shining walls described by native guides. He never returned. The few men who crawled back to the coast spoke of poisoned arrows, rivers that rose overnight, and drums that followed them in the dark. Then came Juan Alvarez Maldonado, a man obsessed with the gold of the sun god. He led hundreds of men down from Cusco into the valleys of Paucartambo, following trails that dissolved into mud and fever. He wrote that the mountains opened like mouths and that the air itself shimmered as if alive. Of his expedition, only a handful survived. They brought back no gold, only nightmares. In the 1600s, the Jesuit missionaries joined the hunt. Officially, they came to spread the word of God, but behind their prayers, they carried maps, coded notes, and stories collected from tribes who spoke of a city where the sun never set. Their writings mentioned strange ruins, walls too smooth for stone, roads that led nowhere, and an idol covered in moss that reflected light like metal. One Jesuit, Andres Lopez, claimed to have seen Paititi with his own eyes. He wrote of a great and rich city, inhabited by Indians, where are houses of stone, streets very straight, and much gold. His report was sent to Rome, and then vanished. After him came soldiers, merchants, and lunatics, each convinced that the forest guarded an empire's heart. Some built rafts to cross uncharted rivers. Others vanished in canyons where compasses spun without reason. As the centuries passed, Paititi became more than a rumor. It became a fever. Maps appeared with the word Paititi scratched into corners, drawn in blood or ink faded to brown. Every explorer claimed they had the true location, yet none could prove it. Father Acuna, chronicler of the Amazon in 1641, wrote that there are people inland who still adore the sun, possessing much gold and keeping strangers from their lands. His words gave birth to a new wave of madness. Nobles in Spain financed secret missions. Adventurers swore they bring back the Inca king's treasure or die trying, and most of them did. Those who returned spoke of statues half swallowed by roots, of drums echoing through valleys long after sunset, of fires burning on mountaintops where no man could climb. Some said the forest itself changed shape, rivers moving, paths closing, trees growing overnight as if to bury what man should not find. Others believed something else, that the priests of Inti still guard the treasure, alive or not, bound to their duty through the curse of the sun. Over time, The line between history and myth dissolved. Every generation found new proof. Shards of worked gold, fragments of pottery, ancient drawings of a walled city beyond the Andes. But the truth remained out of reach. The jungle swallows everything: bones, metal, memory. It hides its secrets beneath roots and time. Yet even now, those who enter say they feel watched. The deeper they go, the thicker the air becomes, as if the forest itself is breathing. Some call it superstition, others the pulse of something sacred. Whatever it is, it keeps the gold of Paititi untouched. And perhaps that is why no man has ever returned with proof, because the jungle does not let go of those who disturb its gods. Centuries passed, yet the legend refused to die. The jungle changed. Kingdoms fell, maps grew clear, and still the name Paititi whispered through the mist. Each generation of explorers believed they would be the ones to find it, the ones who would finally prove that myth and history are the same road. In the late 19th century, Charles Biener, a French explorer, roamed the Peruvian Andes searching for the lost city. He collected native stories that spoke of a great empire beyond the mountains where the sun still rules. In his journals, he drew maps filled with strange notes, circles marking valleys, arrows pointing east toward endless green. He never reached it, but his words reignited the dream. Then came the 20th century, the age of aviation, cameras, and satellites. Suddenly, the myth of Paititi was no longer confined to parchment and rumor. In the 1960s, a Peruvian explorer named Carlos Neuenschwander Landa claimed to have found ancient stone walls deep in the jungle of Madre de Dios. He photographed terraces, carvings, and massive blocks of granite arranged in perfect lines. Locals said it was part of Paititi. The government dismissed it as coincidence, just weathered rocks. But Neuenschwander returned with another discovery: fragments of pottery with geometric designs identical to those from Cusco. The jungle had begun to whisper again. In 1979, Father Carlos Crespi, an Italian missionary in Ecuador, revealed a collection of mysterious artifacts given to him by native tribes. Gold plates engraved with unfamiliar symbols, metal figures of men wearing headdresses like Inca nobles, and maps showing mountains that no European could recognize. He called them the gifts of the jungle. Many of those artifacts vanished after his death, stolen, sold, or hidden away, but photographs remain. Then came Gregory Diamanjian, an American explorer who dedicated his life to finding Paititi. He led dozens of expeditions to the Peruvian jungle, mapping ruins and rivers lost to time. In the 1990s, his team discovered enormous stone structures at a site called Pucharo, decorated with carvings resembling a map, rivers, valleys, and a great central circle. Some believe it depicts the route to Paititi itself. Pucharo became the heart of a new theory, that the lost city lies somewhere between the rivers Madre de Dios and Manu, hidden in a region so remote that even satellites struggle to pierce its canopy. In 2001, the Peruvian government launched an official investigation using helicopters and thermal imaging. From above, they saw something astonishing: perfect rectangular shapes under the trees, too symmetrical to be natural. Archaeologists called it a geological curiosity. Explorers called it proof. The deeper the teams went, the stranger the signs became. Stone paths leading nowhere, steps carved into cliffs that ended in midair, walls buried under living roots. Locals spoke of lights in the forest at night and of a place where animals go silent, a boundary no one should cross. Even experienced guides refused to continue. One helicopter pilot later wrote that his instruments failed whenever he flew over a certain valley, as if the ground itself repelled technology. He said he saw a reflection like metal shining through the canopy. In 2016, a group of researchers analyzing satellite data found a massive rectangular formation near the Brazilian border, 800 meters long, covered in vegetation. Some claimed it was a natural plateau, others the outer wall of something built long ago. Modern archaeologists remain cautious. Science demands proof, not legends. But even they admit that too many traces point towards something, a civilization that fled, hid, and perhaps survived in silence. In museums, forgotten crates still bear the labels of lost expeditions. Unknown site, origin uncertain. Inside them lie fragments of worked gold with Inca-style engraving, found hundreds of kilometers from any known settlement. And somewhere in the archives of Lima, there is said to be a sealed report from the 1920s, a military expedition that vanished into the jungle and returned with a single artifact, a golden disc engraved with a rising sun. The document is classified. Officially, the city of Paititi does not exist. But when explorers talk about it, their voices lower. Not out of fear, but reverence. Because in the deepest part of the Amazon, the line between myth and archaeology grows thin. And every discovery seems to whisper the same thing. The legend was never a lie, only unfinished. The 20th century brought new faith and new victims. Airplanes replaced caravans, radios replaced drums, but the jungle remained the same, unmoved, watching, waiting. In 1925, the famous British explorer Colonel Percy Fawcett vanished while searching for what he called the lost city of Z, a place strikingly similar to Paititi. He believed that somewhere beyond the Xingu River lay the ruins of an ancient empire. His last message read, "We're about to enter unexplored territory. If we do not return, do not attempt to rescue us." No one ever saw him again. Dozens who tried to find him also disappeared. Some say he reached Paititi and stayed. Others whisper that he became part of its curse. As technology advanced, the jungle revealed more secrets, but also more graves. In the 1970s, Peruvian expeditions reported ghost lights hovering above the trees, strange voices echoing from nowhere, compasses spinning without reason. One pilot claimed that while flying over the Manu River, he saw a golden reflection like a dome beneath the canopy. When he tried to return to the same coordinates, the reflection was gone. Scientists explained it as sunlight on water. Explorers called it the roof of Paititi. Others spoke of a deeper curse, not a spell, but a warning. Those who entered the sacred zone were struck by fever, madness, or silence. Some walked for days and found themselves back where they started, as if the forest bent space around them. In 2003, a modern expedition reached a remote plateau near the Madre de Dios River. They found a cave sealed with stone, covered in moss and carvings of suns, serpents, and faces with closed eyes. Inside were fragments of pottery and metal, not gold, but bronze of Inca alloy. Then one of the explorers collapsed. His skin burned as if touched by fire. They left the site that night. Local tribes called that place the mouth of the sun. They say those who open it never return whole. Yet even today, the search continues. Satellites scan every ridge, every shadow. Artificial intelligence maps invisible lines beneath the canopy. Explorers upload coordinates, believing they found the proof. And the jungle answers with rain. Paititi remains untouched. Perhaps it is not hidden by distance, but by choice. Perhaps it is not a city at all, but an idea. A mirror of everything humanity has lost. Faith, balance, humility. The Incas called gold the sweat of the sun, a divine essence, never meant to be owned. The conquistadors melted it into coins. And in that act, the curse began. Because Paititi's gold was never the real treasure.
The true wealth was the wisdom that guarded it, the harmony between man, earth, and the gods. Every explorer who entered the jungle searching for fortune came out searching for forgiveness. Those who vanished may not have died. They may have simply found what they were meant to. The legend endures because every
Generation carries the same hunger. We still chase the golden light beyond the trees. And maybe the curse of Paititi is not in its gold, but in us, because we never stop looking.